Let's go ahead and move on to week 2. So week 2 is also the final week of classes. And this is going to be a crucial time to start studying for those exams. So go ahead and think back to that goal that you set for yourself. I want to get a B in the class, or I want to be on the final. So this is where you really need to maximize that effort. Remember, if you want a B on the test, then you need to put in at least that 8 of effort. Because if you were to wait until, say, the Sunday before your exam, or even the Monday before your exam during exam week, it's going to be crunch time. You're not going to have the time to put in the effort needed to really pass that exam. All right, so I'm often asked by students when we're working on things like study skills, when is the best time to study? You know, here's what I have going on during the day. When is the best time for me to study? And to be honest, there really is not a best time. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And it's going to be very different depending on your own circumstances. I know a lot of students work, a lot have family obligations, other classes that they're attending. And so what's most important is that you're choosing a time when, one, you are most alert. So when are you most awake, ready to get things done? 2, when are you free from those distractions? So is there a time where perhaps it's a bit quieter, or a time where you feel more comfortable putting your phone away, you know, out of sight, out of mind? And then 3, that you have enough time to dedicate towards studying. So you don't want to sit down and start studying in the 10 minutes between class 1 and class 2. You want to have enough time to really dedicate towards that quality study time. And most students report that this is somewhere between the hours of 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. So that's a pretty wide range, and you may fall outside of that range. Maybe you're an early in the morning kind of person. I know I'm a morning person, not really one for studying in the evening. I know that if I wait that long, that it's not going to be as high quality than if I did it first thing in the day. But you might be the exact opposite. And so figure out when is that best time for you, when you are alert, free of distractions, and have enough time. All right, and most importantly, it is really important to schedule in breaks as well. I think that breaks are really important for sustaining yourself and for maintaining momentum as you are studying. And so I have 3 rules for taking breaks. The first is that for every 30 minutes that you spend studying, so high quality studying where you're undistracted and focused, go ahead and give yourself about a 5 to 10 minute break. So in this 5 to 10 minutes, you can give into those distractions, you can do whatever you want, but make sure you set an alarm for yourself. And after that 5 to 10 minutes is up, get back to it, because after you study for 30 more minutes, you get the same break over again. And you'll probably find that that 30 minutes really flies by as you are focusing in on the material. Then for every 3 hours of study time, so if you're deciding to embark on a marathon study session, it's been 3 hours, you've given yourself breaks every 30 minutes, but after you reach that 3-hour mark, go ahead and give yourself an extended, and I'm meaning like over an hour break. Like you should put it away until a later time. And like I said, the reason for it is you don't want to burn out when it comes to reviewing the material. You don't want to overdo it. After 3 hours, even if you are taking breaks, you're probably a bit tired of looking at the material. It is best to put it away because of number 3 here, which is that if you feel yourself getting distracted for absolutely any reason, you just start to lose focus, you're tired, your vision starts to go a little blurry because you've been looking at the screen too long, then just stop. Just go ahead and stop studying. You know, do not pass go, do not collect $200. The reason for this is that if you continue studying after this point, what is going to happen is you're going to feel this false sense of confidence. Say that you're feeling distracted and you're going over chapter 8 of the textbook. You're only half reading, but you're telling yourself you're getting through it. You're maybe watching the video, but your mind's somewhere else, or you're on your phone while you're watching the video. And then when you're done, you'll say, okay, I'm done with chapter 8, time to move on to chapter 9. But in reality, you didn't spend that quality time getting through chapter 8. And so it really is best to put it down, put it away, and come back to it when you are feeling more alert, when you're free of those distractions, and when you have enough time to dedicate towards that studying. All right, so now to cover just a few quick study methods that you may want to consider for week 2. The first one is called spaced repetition, and this is a study method that uses flashcards. And I think that flashcards are, it's sort of a tried and true method for studying, especially when you have to memorize a large amount of material. And the idea of spaced repetition is that material that is either newer material or is more difficult for you. So, you've gotten questions wrong in the past, maybe you find it difficult on the homework. That's stuff that you want to review more frequently. On the flip side, things that are older, or maybe they're less difficult, maybe they're just easy for you, those can be reviewed less frequently. So as you can see on the PowerPoint slide, everything starts out, all the flashcards start out in pile number 1, which is to review every day. Well, you review the flashcards on day 1, and there are some that you're going to get right, and there are some that you're going to get wrong. For all of the ones that you get right, that's where you're going to move it down the line. Now these are flashcards that I don't have to worry about tomorrow. Let's go ahead and move them to every other day. Awesome. So tomorrow I'm going to review all of the ones that I got wrong. Same idea. If I get it right, then I'm going to move it down the line. However, the opposite's true as well. So if I've reviewed a flashcard a few times, I've gotten it right every time, and I'm now reviewing it only once a week. If I get it wrong, well, that means I need to push it back a little bit. Maybe I was reviewing it once a week, but now I have to review it every other day because I have to commit it back to memory. So like I said, this is just one study method using flashcards. There's also another method, such as the easy, moderate, hard study outline or organization tool. You should be able to see an image of it here. But the idea of this is that you go ahead and read through very briefly your notes, your study guides. Maybe you take a look at the textbook and you read through any headers or subheaders that you can find. And for the concepts or headers or key terms that you feel really confident about, the ones that you already know, go ahead and write those down in the easy column. Go ahead and make a list. And you don't really have to review these. You already know it. And so you can sort of rest assured that this is material you don't have to cover that in depth. Now, if you go through all of those things and there are things that maybe you feel like okay about, it's not that easy. You have to work a little bit to remember it, but it's not necessarily difficult. Well, go ahead and write it in the moderate column, because this might be material that you do a partial reread of the chapter, or you watch the lecture video or something along those lines. Look for tutoring, talk to your professor, go ahead and make that list. And then the final is the hard column. And this is where you're going to write down, like I said, all of those concepts, questions, headers, any material that is really difficult for you. And everything in this column, this is where you really need to focus your study time. Go down the list and try to move it down the line. What's hard, the goal is to get it over to the moderate column. And then the goal is to get it over to the easy column. So everything that's in hard, you really want to do a full reread, really play close attention to the lecture videos, download the PowerPoints, do a little bit of online research, watch any videos, speak with your professor, look for tutoring. Any of those things are going to help you to better understand what you've organized into the hard column. All right, and then the last study method that you may want to consider during week 2 is to create your own study cheat sheet. And obviously, I'm not advocating for you to actually use this on the exam, but it is a study method that students use and find success with, particularly in science classes, although it could be used in pretty much any class. So I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I remember way back in high school that we were often told that we could create a cheat sheet that we could use on the exam. And the idea was you can fill an entire side of a page, just one side of the page. And as long as we could fit it all on that one page, then we could go ahead and use it on the exam. And so you'd spend all your time writing all those little details onto that piece of paper so that you could fit everything. It's also a challenge. You have to prioritize your space. And so you really have to think about what is most important, what do I not really know yet, and what do I need to be reminded of on test day. Just the simple act of writing it down is going to get that brain working. Those cogs are going to start to turn. And you're going to find that you're committing those things to your long-term memory. You're sort of working through the material to create this cheat sheet. It's going to help you not just study, but like I said, learn and commit all of that material into your long-term memory. All right, and so regardless of which study method you choose, in your last 10 minutes, I would challenge you to go ahead and quiz yourself on everything that you've just studied. Learning itself is much more than just taking in the information. As you know, you could be sitting in lecture and something goes in one ear and right out the other. What's most important is that you're able to recall the material, meaning that when you get to exam day, you remember exactly what you learned in class. You're able to pull it out of that smart brain of yours and get it onto the exam. And so in these last 10 minutes of your study time, this is where you could really test yourself. Can I recall the information that I just learned? If the answer is yes, awesome. You've accomplished the overall goal of your study time, which is to learn. But if you quiz yourself and you find that you get questions wrong, well, then it's back to the drawing board. You know, you have to review this material again. It's a good thing though, because it's better to figure that out now than on test day. So quiz yourself, it's going to help you out in the long run. All right, and my final tips for week 2 are to 1, seek tutoring if you need it through the Learning Commons. Make sure you're asking those questions. Don't be afraid to work with a tutor. You know, they are happy to assist you in any way that they can. And then also don't be afraid of speaking with your professor during their office hours to get any of those last minute questions answered. 2, so I know that I've wrote here to study in the same location and under the same time limits as test day. So it's actually really good to mix things up sometimes. So to have, say, 2 different places to study. But when it comes down to it, if you're taking a practice test or you're quizzing yourself, try and study in the same location that you plan on taking that exam. Because sometimes you can remember things just based on the memory of the way that the room feels, the way that the room looks, the way that the room smells. Sometimes these other memories can help jog our memory on the material. And then 3, if there are test reviews offered for your class that you're preparing for, I know that the Learning Commons offers many test reviews specifically in the areas of math. So if they're being offered and you can attend them, then I highly recommend it. Some of them are recorded, whereas some of them aren't. You know, some professors or specialists prefer not to record them, but some of them do. So if you do miss out, feel free to ask. I'm happy to look around for recording links or to go straight to the source. So if you have any questions about those test reviews, just let me know. All right, so to give you a better idea of what the final exam study plan week 2 would look like, here's an example. Let's say I have 2 final exams. I've got my Intro to Humanities. I've got my Intermediate Algebra. You can see that I'm spacing things out every day. I'm not just dedicating one whole day to humanities and one whole day to math. I'm distributing my practice across a number of days, and I'm using a number of different methods. I'm looking for tutoring, I'm looking at my notes, I'm using flashcards, all of these different things all planned out for week 2.